saw a video on Instagram too of someone recently. I don't have one. I know you guys have one. It's like an X-Acto knife.
It's the Tula pink one.
Yes, like a Tula pink X-Acto knife. I don't know what it is. When I first saw it, I didn't know what it was for, but I saw someone on Instagram post a video and they used it to seam rip, and they just kind of pulled their seam apart a little bit and then just zipped that knife down the middle and done. It was so fast. I would be terrified to cut my fabric.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really quick way to get a lot of seam ripping done.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Miranda, and this is
Not Your Granny's Quilt Show. Episode
7.
7. Wow. 7.
Lucky number 7.
Yeah, 7. This time we're going to share our top tips for seam ripping.
Everyone's favorite activity.
The best.
Seam ripping.
It's a lot. It's probably part of the reason why I got the moniker the cussy quilter. Because it makes words fly in my mouth.
It does.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah. I am very tired today. So I was up very late last night putting a quilt top together. And I think it's the first project in so long that I got from start to finish without having to seam rip something. I know. I was very excited, especially because it was very late at night, and that's like key time for seam ripping and making stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely done my fair share of seam ripping. Usually can't get through a project without seam ripping at least one thing. I have seam ripped entire quilt tops apart. I know that you have also done that.
It makes me cry every time.
I know some of our friends have done that. Either you put it together and it's just not what you were hoping it would be, or
you really screw it up.
Did it really wrong.
Yeah, that's happened.
One of the first quilts I ever made, of course, because that's when we all do the most seam ripping, which is so fun. But one of the first quilts I ever made is kind of a herringbone pattern, and it's so simple. It's just half square triangles, and then you put them just together in a herringbone pattern. But every row, they're kind of facing a different way. And I thought I was being so clever, and I just stacked all my blocks up, and I pulled them over to my sewing machine, and I just sewed those rows together so fast. And I was looking, and I was like, they all are going the right way because the herringbones are turning into herringbones. But then I went to lay it out, and like all of the rows were going the same
I remember
direction.
You were like, oh my god.
So I had to go in and seam rip like 4 of the 8 rows, which doesn't sound like a lot, but there was like 10 blocks per row or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it was huge.
It was a lot, and I was like, I'm just not going to make this quilt. I'm just not going to.
It's a lost cause, going in the trash.
Or I'm going to make it where they all go this way, but I didn't do that.
That's good.
We had our friend Beth's daughter Mia, who has seam ripped multiple of my quilts because I always am like, I'm not doing this. And she'll do it, which is great. So
she's helpful.
Yeah, that's our first tip. Have someone else do it.
Have someone else do it. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, Mom.
I think it's important to just step away from the project for a little bit until you're ready to come back to it. And sometimes that's a long time. Sometimes that's months.
Yeah. Yeah, because it can be super frustrating, especially like if it's like right away. I'm like, oh, okay, well at least it was at the beginning. But if it's like in the middle or towards the end, I am like ready to stab my machine and like rip the quilts apart, which sounds dramatic, but I am, so it's fine. But
I understand.
It's just like so frustrating because you're like, oh, how could I make such a dumb mistake? But it happens to all of us, and like, and I've had to pick like long arm, like the pantograph.
That's harder.
Oh my god,
I really struggle with that.
Oh my god. I had to I got like under in between the frame and like was just like bent over picking out. And of course it was like one of the densest edge to edge pantos we have. It was like all these little chickadee birds.
Yep. That's so tricky too because the threads are kind of sunk into the fabric and the batting. I have such a hard time if I make a mistake on the longer machine. I'm like,
it's so hard.
It's so hard to do.
And that's tricky because it's like on the thing and you have to like get around the machine. So it's not like you're not picking a seam at that point.
Yeah.
Where if it's a seam,
the top stitching,
a lot easier. But yeah, the top stitching kills. But yeah, I think like having a good seam ripper that is like easy to hold is crucial.
Yeah, and nice and sharp, so it actually cuts the seams. You don't have to like jab it. Yeah.
But
yeah, like just taking your time, pop in a podcast.
Yeah, listen to us.
Yeah,
our soothing voices. I like to,
cuss at it a little bit. You know, do what you gotta do.
Wear every 5th stitch that you're picking out. But that's a good way. That I was picking every single stitch, and Beth was like, "Why are you doing that?" I was like, "What, seam ripping?" Yeah. And she was like, "No, why are you picking every stitch?" She's like, "If you do like every 3rd or 5th, like then you can just like pull it apart." And I was like, "What?"
I learned that early on also.
Yeah. So then I started doing that, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then it like comes apart.
Yeah. You can do a whole row and just pick like every 5th stitch and then just rip it apart like the Hulk, and it just comes apart so easily.
Yeah, that tip, it's a hot tip, so write it down. Hot tip.
I saw a video on Instagram too of someone recently. I don't have one. I know you guys have one. Mm-hmm. It's like an X-Acto knife.
It's the Tula Pink one.
Yes, like a Tula Pink X-Acto knife. I don't know what it is. When I first saw it, I didn't know what it was for. But I saw someone on Instagram post a video, and they used it to seam rip, and they just kind of pulled their seam apart a little bit and then just zipped that knife down the middle, and done. It was so fast. I would be terrified to cut my fabric.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really quick way to get a lot of seam ripping done.
Yeah. And if it's sharp enough. Wow.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We'll let you know.
We'll try that one out.
We're going to have to seam rip soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We'll give you the details. That can be really easy. Oh man, that would make things so much faster too, because then you're not even like the picking every 5th stitch is faster, but just being able to like through a seam.
Yeah.
I want to try it now.
I know.
I just want to like sew something together just so I can seam rip it.
I'm sure that you'll have a reason to try it sooner or later.
I'm sure I will. Oh, man.
I think it'd be really helpful too, because with regular seam ripper, you have to go kind of slow and be careful. Sure. I have stabbed holes into my fabric multiple times with the tip of that seam ripper.
Me too. I'm like, oh God. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna like give me more seam allowance so I can sew past that hole I just made. Oh my God, it's so frustrating. Yeah. Every 5th. Listen to something good music, watch a movie, like something you don't really have to pay attention to. We have our go-tos like Harry Potter, Twilight,
Gilmore Girls.
I don't know. Anything that you've seen a million times that you don't have to pay attention to, because you got to pay attention to your quilt, but it's nice to have something in the background to keep you from punching someone. Yeah. Besides making a friend do it.
Make someone else do it.
That's
always the number one tip.
Just like,
that's my first go-to too.
Ask them what their favorite like food item or like what can I get you to get you to do this for me?
Someone who's not like emotionally invested in it.
Correct. Yeah, because I think that's it, is you get so emotionally invested in the things that you're creating, so then when something goes wrong with it, you're just like, why?
Yeah.
But
the worst is I do a lot of paper piecing. Not a lot. I do some paper piecing. When you're paper piecing, you shorten your stitch length up pretty tight so that you can just easily rip the paper off at the end. It kind of perforates it. More. Yeah. So 100% of the time I have to seam rip when I'm doing a paper piecing thing. And it's so tricky because those stitches are so teeny tiny. It's rough.
Oof.
I don't have a tip for that. Just avoid making mistakes when you're paper piecing.
Be so careful. Oh, I still have not done paper piecing because it terrifies me.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't imagine seam ripping that. I would cry. I mean, thankfully they're tiny usually.
Yeah.
But that would still be so annoying.
Yeah.
Ugh. It's not fun. It doesn't matter. Like, we're not even gonna lie to you. It's not fun. It will never be fun. But there's definitely ways to make it suck less.
Alcohol.
Drink some wine. Don't spill it on your quilt. I don't know. I mean, if you're a wine person, I'm not really. Give me some beer and I'm happy. But yeah. I don't know, though, because then you can get a little loosey-goosey and start not caring as much.
That's true.
But, I mean, at what point, like, do you want to keep torturing
Maybe
yourself?
the best tip is just to not make mistakes early on. Which is easier said than done, but like maybe don't sew your entire, like all of your rows together without double checking that you're like doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Or sew every single strip of your jelly roll together without checking that it's folding the right way.
Or that you're sewing them together the right way.
Or, you know, make all of your blocks without making sure that you're doing them right. So just, it's always worth it to stop and check after like one or two to make sure that it's coming together with the way that you expect.
Yeah, just, slowing down, taking your time. Like, if it's a time crunch, like, I mean, that's on you, really. But it's still worth it.
It's always a time crunch.
Like, yeah, honestly. Like, it's worth it to take that extra few minutes to check over it. And I mean, honestly, you probably will have to seam rip at some point, but like, you got through a king size quilt top without having a seam rip. That's like,
hell yeah, I did.
Oh my god. That's an achievement. I wish there was like a little achievement thing that would like pop up over your head. It's all,
I wish.
Did not seam rip an entire king size quilt.
I don't want to speak too soon because I still have to long arm it, so let's knock on all of the wood. We'll let you know in the future if I if I eat my words.
I don't think you'll have to. It would have to be the long arming at this point.
Yeah, which is the worst.
That would be the saddest.
Which is the worst way.
That is the worst way. Well, happy quilting, and if you have to seam rip, sorry.
Have fun.
Hopefully a tip we gave you helps you, and you know, better luck next time. All right.
Sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck. Literally does. Ugh. Oh my god. Well, thanks for joining us on this journey about seam ripping. And you can find me at Sweet Pea Design Company on Instagram.
And I'm at Miranda Makes.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us, hunt us down, ask us a million questions.
Don't hunt us down.
Well, don't. But ask us a million questions. We'd love to hear from you. And until then, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.